Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. February is Black History Month, and our focus will now shift to the historic Negro Baseball League. During the late 1800s, African Americans and other minority ethnic backgrounds were excluded from playing professional baseball in the major leagues. That discrimination inspired a man in 1920 named Andrew Rube Foster to form the Negro Baseball League. Today, there are less than 250 players who played in the Negro League still living, so it's both a privilege and an honor to be joined by Mr. Dennis Biddle. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Well, you look fine. Thank you for being here. And it is really, like I said, a privilege to talk to you this morning. Your baseball career began in 1953 at the age of 17 in your hometown of Arkansas. It was for the National Farmers Association. So tell us how you ended up in the Negro Leagues.
Well, Magnolia is at the time when I was there, it was there was 999 population.
Okay.
I made it 10,000.
And so you ended up in the Negro League playing actually for the Chicago American Giants.
Yes. Well, you have to read my my biography to understand how that happened.
Mm-hmm.
I was a star athlete in high school. I was recruited by Eddie Robinson to play quarterback at Grambling College.
Oh wow, the great, legendary. Wow.
Yes,
wow.
At that time, we didn't know of his, legacy, but he recruited me for quarterback, and I also had a scholarship offer to play basketball at Arkansas A&M, which is now the University of Arkansas. And but no one offered me a scholarship to play the game I love, which was baseball.
So you were just good all the way around.
Well, there was a reason for that, because Jackie had just opened the door, and most of the black schools at that time in that area didn't have a baseball team, or they was trying to get one together.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's how I got started. I pitched 7 no-hitters in high school.
I heard that.
And that's the reason for that, because most of the teams I played, they didn't have 1 or 2 guys on there that could hit the ball. So I was very successful down that line. But yes, I won the state championship in 1953, and I was offered a scholarship to Grambling, scholarship to Arkansas A&M, and nobody offered me a baseball scholarship, but I got a phone call from the Chicago American Giants who had scouted me. I knew nothing about the Negro League. And what really happened, I was going to take the scholarship before I got the phone call, but they said I was going to get paid.
Can't turn down money.
Because I felt I can always go back to school, And I had a brother in college then at that time, and Mom and Dad was having problems sending him. So I knew I was going to have a problem with it, So I took the best way out, and that was to play professional baseball in the Negro Baseball League.
Yes, you did. And because you were only 17, you were entered into the congressional record as the youngest person to play in the Negro League.
Yes, but there's a lot of individuals that have written books about their interest into the Negro League, and some of them may have said they were 15 and 14 and all that. I don't doubt that, but the Library of Congress, by their record, said I was the youngest one, so I accepted that.
Wow, that is pretty awesome.
Thank you.
So you played in 1953 and 1954. So you have to explain what that experience was like for you.
I came into the Negro League, and I didn't know this at the time when the Major League was breaking up the Negro League by taking all of the young players. And I was one of those young players. I didn't know at the time, my first professional game in Memphis, Tennessee, the scouts were all over me. Where you come from? Why nobody never heard of you? But I realized right away that I was being trained. Not only me, there were some other youngsters that was playing. We were being prepared for the Major League by these older men that was too old to go in. And some of them are living today.
That's awesome too. I love it.
And I appreciate that, because I learned about life. I'm 17 years old. I'm riding this bus all day and night. I didn't understand we couldn't sleep in the hotels. We couldn't even take a shower after the game. We had to eat and sleep on the bus. And these old men, they was training us, preparing us for the major league. But I couldn't understand why all of this, these people could come to the game, pay money, and call us all kind of names. I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
But I was doing what I was told. And I learned to listen, hear it, and not see it or hear it.
And Jackie Robinson really did help pave the way to have that mindset. We all saw the younger generation that could not really, I guess we could say, witness the miraculous things that you all were able to do as far as opening the door for African Americans and other minorities for the Major League. We did see in the movie 42 where he kind of took it, but Jackie Robinson was a tough guy and really didn't take it lying down, so to speak.
Last night I was in Elgin, Illinois Community College. I spoke there, and I told the youngsters, Jackie was not as passive as they made him out to be. Jackie subdued himself to do what he did. But there's a lot of things about that movie. It is a true story. And the reason I say it's a true story because Rachel is a good friend of mine. She called me. A lot of these movies they made about us is not true. Hollywood made not
Hollywood
true.
always adds their little spin to things, right, to make it more entertaining.
And she said she was at every scene, and she made sure this is the way it happened. And I really appreciate that because a lot of our history have been swept under the rug, destroyed it, and misquoted. And I appreciate that. But one thing the movie left out, and that's what I do now to my young people. The movie left out that 1 year Jackie played in the Negro Baseball League. Jackie didn't just happen up.
Right.
Branch Rickey was looking for someone for 2 years before Jackie even showed up on the scene. Player after player, he turned them down because of their attitude. But Jackie came to the Kansas City Monarchs. Those owners knew Rickey was looking for someone, and when they saw Jackie and looked at he had been to UCLA, had played with whites and against whites, and all he had to do was seduce himself, and because he was educated, and this is what was handed down to me, because he was educated, they knew he would understand change. They took him 1 year on the road with them, putting them through being denied hotels, cursed out, spit on. Jackie went through all of that. And when they got him ready, they called Branch Rickey, we got one. And that's where everything comes in. But that other part, they never even talk about a show because they don't know.
All right, they don't know, but that's where people like you come into play. It's so refreshing and such an honor to have someone who lived it tell the story. So I thank you again for being here to do just that. Now, we just talked about the whole scenario with the great Jackie Robinson. So here it is, 1955, the Chicago Cubs want to purchase your contract, and what happened?
This is what, the Major League broke up the Negro League that way. They got nothing for Jackie. They got nothing. The Negro League itself got nothing for Jackie, nothing for Larry Doby. But the owners of those teams saw what was getting ready to happen. So they had the managers sign all of the young players to long-binding contracts. Now, if the Major League is interested, they got to purchase their contract from that team he's on. And that team he's on is going to get enough money from the Major League to pay those older guys that was training us to keep the league going. This is the part of history that has been swept under the rug because you don't see it in no book nowhere. But this is what happened. My contract was purchased by the Chicago Cubs in 1955. The Cubs paid the Chicago American Giants money. I don't know how much they paid. I tried to find out so I could put it in my book, but they wouldn't tell. I couldn't find out. But we were no more than free agents. Spring training, I went to spring training in 1955, Mesa, Arizona, broke my ankle in 2 places in a training exercise. And they purchased the contract, so I'm still
on the team
under them.
Yeah.
And only thing I could do was pitch batting practice when my ankle got well enough to do that. And so in 1958, they released me. The doctor said my ankle will I will no longer be able to pitch in the major league because of the sprain.
Wow.
So I had to go another direction. I moved to Milwaukee.
You moved to Milwaukee.
Went to the university, became a social worker, 24 years for the state.
And you were 22 years old at the time,
Yep.
so you did tell yourself early on that you can always go back to school, and that's exactly what you did. So you decided to make Wisconsin your home, obviously.
Yes, I did.
And why so?
Milwaukee was something like 20 years behind time when I came here, and that was like my hometown. I had a daughter, and I didn't want to bring my daughter up in Chicago. That was the main reason I moved to Milwaukee.
Gotcha. So with your journey of basketball and baseball, all the things that you have accomplished over the years, you did state 24 years you worked as a social worker in the correction system. And after retirement, you actually went to work for Career Youth Development. Yeah,
I worked for several, two, youth development.
Is it CYD?
CYD, Career Youth Development, and I also worked for another agency run by June Perry.
It's escaping me, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I worked for both of those and agencies, and it was in my blood. That social work was in my blood, and when I went to, I got notified that Kansas City was bringing all the living Negro League ball players. Coors Beer sponsored it. And when I got there, it was 314 players from the Negro Bay. All these old men. They had one bus equipped with nothing but wheelchairs. And when I saw this, things start coming back to me. Why all this information that was passed down to me riding that bus with these old men, we had no representation. And what I'm going to say here now, probably going to shock a lot of people. The word Negro League was never copyrighted. It belongs to anybody that want to use it.
Wow.
And I have you to know they're using it all over the world right today, making millions of dollars off of our name and likeness. And none of that money going to those old men who made that history.
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Now, when I found this out, I came back to Milwaukee. I'll never forget my wife on the plane said, "What's the matter, honey?" I said, "I got to do something." And I did. I organized all 314 players. I changed the word through the help of some very important people. Marty Greenberg was the attorney. He helped file the papers for us. We copyrighted the word yesterday's Negro League to represent the players. Now we got a representation, and that's the way it is today.
I love that. Yesterday's Negro League Baseball Players
Foundation.
LLC. All right. And quickly, because we're running out of time, we recently lost baseball great Ernie Banks, also known as Mr. Cub. And I wanted to know, he was, of course, the first black player to play for Chicago Cubs.
I pitched batting practice to him many days.
Really? Quickly, one word to describe Mr.
Ernie
Banks.
was fun to be with.
Fun, that's a great word.
That's the word, fun.
Well, Mr. Biddle, it has been fun talking to you, and we'll have to have you back because I know you've got more stories to share.
So much.
Oh, well.
So much more.
Thank you so much. It's a blessing to have you here.
Thank you for having me, and may God bless everybody.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Dennis Biddle is a former Negro League player with the Chicago American Giants, and he's the founder of yesterday's Negro League Baseball Players LLC. And that is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. As always, thank you for watching, and I do hope you join us again next week as we take another look at our issues Milwaukee. Have a great day.